Excited for Justin tonight?
Oh, yeah.
Is it Thursday?
Question is he ready? I'm glad he came back. I don't know what put everything on hold. Like, he was sick. Did you know that? It was really weird. Justin Timberlake. Yeah, he stopped his tour. It's not. She's gonna figure it out. I don't know.
He didn't count the
Yeah, he gave us 0 credit. He had to cancel a bunch of shows.
I did get that. I think he would have canceled Atlanta already though.
Oh, he's back.
He's back. He's back.
The ones he did.
He's sexy back.
He's better. Right. Hi guys. Hi. So thanks for coming. We're gonna go ahead and get rid of that buzzing sound here momentarily, but we're gonna get started just because we only have an hour today. So I just wanted to thank Econ, Lisa, and Dawn for coming in. For those of you that saw, the goal of today really, and I know they're gonna open it up for your questions. The goal is to talk about really quickly what we saw in 2018 and what that market looked like, and what we can expect this year and how to have those conversations with our clients. So I want to thank you all for being here, and I will let the panel introduce themselves and take it away. Thanks.
Okay, I am Dawn with Proctor and part of the Barnes Young team. I've been with Keller Williams for 18 years, and production. We sold 89 houses, I think, last year, 44 million volume.
I like your necklace.
Thank you.
Okay, I am the polar opposite of Dawn. I'm Lisa Pinson, and I was one of the founding members of the Southeast region of Keller Williams. So were you? Yes.
Well, yeah.
So we've been here a long time. Helped open this office, and I am in the 4th quarter of my career. So I am very purposeful about running kind of a boutique by design business. It's all referral. I only did 14 transactions last year, 7.5 million production. I work with people I know who come from people I know and people I like, and because I'm old, my price point's gotten a whole lot better, which is good. And so that's kind of how I roll.
Me, Tom Levine, been with Keller Williams since 2004, and I was with a different company for a few years before that. I pretty much just do the same exact thing as Lisa does. I just started a little bit earlier. And as far as my approach to it, and being just kind of sticking with who I know and who they know, and that's really all I focus on.
But you do a lot more business.
I just try and keep you bright. So.
What were your numbers in 2018?
I don't exactly know. Somewhere, I think it was like 17 something, somewhere in there. I don't know. Sorry.
It was I think 45 transactions.
Okay.
Close to 18 million.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's why I came.
Your excuse.
No, I'm like, where's the light?
Good job. Perfect. You want to talk
So
about
to just jump right into
Yeah.
what we saw at the end of last year.
Yeah.
I guess just want to run around the room real quick, just do a quick
Oh, yeah.
introduction, just
Yeah.
just to make sure, because I think it's always nice to know everybody in the office. We don't always get a chance to hang out, but just run through and just maybe if there's a short, specific question you have, we can do our best to hopefully address it.
Maybe tell us your name and how long you've been in real estate, and whatever question
Yeah.
you want us to hit today.
You
go there, you go
there. I'm Donna Redmond. I've been with Keller Williams since 2000. Would say I've been here since 2013 in this office since 2013.
My name is Katie Staples. I've been here for a year now and did it previously in another state for a little while. And I'm just going to take in everything that you say. Nothing in particular. Just all the things.
Awesome.
I'm Tara Winslow. I've been here. I've been in the industry for 7.5 years, and this is the only office and company ever. So I'm founding member of 7 years. No, it's 7. I just want to hear what y'all have to say because y'all are awesome and sell a lot of real estate, and I'm curious to know what your overall thought is, as you mentioned in the past, and where you know, what your crystal ball says about 2019. Did you guys bring those?
Left it in my office.
Hi, I'm Brandy Washington. I have been full-time with KW doing? I'm Kareem Francis. Been with Keller Williams since 2013, on and off. And biggest question for me is just like your systems, what you guys use, because that's kind of where I'm at with my business, trying to build a better business.
Chris Estrada, KW Commercial. I'll be 3 full years in February. It's been a lot of fun. I still do a little bit of residential as well. Just I'm 100% referral based. So one of the things I love to hear, just kind of, I caught myself scratching my head a couple times this past quarter, just with different deals I was doing. And I'd kind of love to hear your take on kind of how you guys were able to experience it and how it worked out for you guys.
Well, my name's Brandon DeSenza. I've been with KW for 2 years. I'm just here to absorb it all.
I'm Dawn Cherry, the other Dawn, and I've been with Keller Williams for 13 years. I started in First Atlanta office for I don't know how many years. I've been here the bulk of my career. And my career's kind of been all over the place, up and down, all referral based though. So I need some inspiration. Starting out my 2019.
Me? Okay. I'm Jenna Miesdorf. I've been with Keller Williams since 2014 in real estate since we 3 years in April. And yeah,
I'm Tiana Vaz. I've been in real estate since August 2015, so I'm in my 3rd year right now. I've only been at I've been at Keller Williams, went somewhere else, came back here, realized that the grass isn't greener. Just here to learn everything you guys can say.
Alright. You want me to go? Okay. I'm Bree Gipstein. Been here 5 years and been in the business about 13. Big portion of my business is working with investors who are fixing up and reselling. They want as much money as possible and they want it on day one. So I'm looking for 2019 pricing strategies.
My name is Catherine Urquhart. I've been at Peachtree Road for about half a year in real estate and about 3.5 years. And I'm hoping to learn, well, I feel like some buyer confidence has been slipping. And my Q4 I think was rather abysmal, and hoping you have some great things to say in regards to what we have for 2019.
What do you mean by buyer confidence slipping?
You know, maybe now's not the right time to buy because I think that next year is probably going to be the right time to buy.
They were anticipating a lower price market or something?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes, they are.
said that last week.
I know, I said last year.
Hello, I'm Frida Hamilton. I've spent my entire career in real estate right here in this office. It'll be starting my 2nd year in September. It was my 2nd year. Prior to this, I was in public education for 30 years. So this is a 2nd career for me. And I have more questions than answers, so I'll let them ask them, and I'll just.
I'm Courtney Lott. I've been here for almost 3 years. I'm a former elementary school specialist, reading specialist, like my friend here. And I guess I'm kind of on the same page with her. Got a lot of buyers that are just wanting to wait, including myself. So, truth be told.
I'm one of them too.
I'm Todd Clear. I just started with Keller Williams about 4 months ago. So new to everything.
Good, well, yeah.
Dwayne Mitchell. I'm also new with Keller 3 months ago, and been licensed since '04. Started off in new home sales. Got into corporate when the market crashed in '08, '09, and then got back. This is my first time in this market with the resales, and just learning and looking forward to hearing what y'all's forecast, like everybody, like a lot of people. What this year is gonna, what you foresee for this year. I know the rates are, we've all heard the rates are going up a little bit, and just what area, just kind of just what you guys got to forecast for this year.
I'm Sarah Pepper. I've been here since May of last year, and you know, everyone, I'm just looking forward to listening and learning what y'all have to say.
My name name's Adi Weissmark. I have been in real estate for 9 years and almost 5 at this office. I don't feel specifically that a shift that we're shifting. I follow the market from 2 different perspectives, and neither one shows that buyers have changed. My listings are selling like hotcakes, and they are not all in perfect condition and staged and with a bow on top. So I just want to see. I've only ridden the market up, and I want to see if you feel like we are truly shifting, and if we are, then what the next 2-3 years are going to look like, not necessarily the next quarter.
Way back, you guys.
My name is Lisa Borowski. I've been with Keller Williams in real estate since April of 2017. And it sounds like maybe why we're here today. I haven't been through any kind of shift per se. So similarly, I'd like to see, what are the projections? Is this just sort of speculation, or is it happening? And just learn from everybody in the room.
Yeah, I'm Andrew Dennis. I've been licensed in Georgia for 4 or 5 years. I've been active here at Peachtree Road for about 3.5. I just want to hear everybody's take on everything. You are well thought of agents, and I know whatever you say is going to be probably the best thing that I could hear. So looking forward to it.
Just answer everything. Just
All at
crystal
once.
ball it.
All at once. Start.
Bring in the
Okay.
crystal ball and tell me what's
Yeah.
going on.
I will start, I guess, as far as what I feel like we saw towards the end of last year. And I definitely saw it slow down. I feel like our listings, there was a time where we were telling all of our sellers 7 days, 7 showings, whatever comes first. If you haven't sold, you're listed too high. And that has certainly changed. Days on market has gone up. Buyers have become super picky, in my opinion. We had, I would say, towards the fall, into winter, end of the year, had more contracts fall out because sellers would get very stubborn and say, oh, we're not doing this, and buyers would just flat out walk, which never sends a good message to the market when you come back on the market multiple times. So we had I don't know about y'all, but we honestly had a lot that came off the market or expired. And unfortunately we had, I don't know that we'll get them back, to be very honest, because I just feel like we're probably taking the blame for why they didn't sell, but, and that's not to say we didn't get offers on the property. So, for instance, we had a house at $725, which was too high for the market. We had an offer at $690. We even were reduced to $715 at that time at $690, and the seller said no, which if he was to call today, I probably wouldn't tell him to list $699 wouldn't be his top. So, I think it's just a fight between buyers and sellers right now. Sellers are not realizing that interest rates are going up, buyer power's gone down, and therefore that reflects in prices coming down as well. So that's kind of what we saw at the end of this year.
Okay, I'll jump in. I felt like Dawn, the end of the year, I felt things slow down. Listings didn't seem to be getting shown as much. It just felt like the market kind of slowed overall. However, with the exception of one listing that was overpriced and would not get it right, and it was close to $2 million, so it was in the luxury end, and I think that's a whole different market. I think this is a price-related issue too, but everything else I had was gone in the most 2 weeks. And if I told my clients, if we're not gone, 2 weeks or less, we're not positioned properly. And I think that's still true for probably 70% 750 and below. I think in luxury, days on market started lengthening. We saw more price reductions being taken. I do feel like historically a shift shows up in luxury first and then trickles down. And in speaking to colleagues like out in Palm Springs, out in California, and out there, they're feeling the shift already. That's another thing I've experienced in the past is it shows up in other parts of the country first. We're really lucky in Atlanta, I think. We kind of enter the shifts later. I feel like we maybe come out sooner. We don't have the crazy swings they have in California and, you know, out in Vegas and in Florida. So even when we fell, when the market fell 07, 08, it was dismal. It was bad. You people who haven't lived through it, buckle up because it is not fun. However, it was so much better here than it was in some other parts of the country.
Hey Lisa, can I ask you, it sounds like you differ a little bit from what Dawn was saying. Am I hearing that correctly?
Well, I think price point wise, you know, if it was under a certain price, I still expected multiple offers and within the first 2 weeks.
Okay.
You know, but I work really, really hard to price right. I mean, and you know, even after my initial consult with them, you know, it takes a while to get ready because we have our visual coordinators stage them and they've got their honey-do list. And so between that first meeting and when we actually go on the market might be 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And I tell them I'm making a final circle in that last 24 hours. I'm going back through all the inventory. What has happened since we first spoke? Do I feel differently than I did the first time we spoke? It may be the price I told you then. It may be a little higher. It may be lower. And with one client, it actually was higher. And we still were sold in 2 weeks.
So you're having that discussion in the beginning, like the first time you meet?
First time I meet with them, I give them my idea right then, but I tell them by the time we hit the market, it could change.
Okay.
Another conversation I've had, and y'all probably had this too, people are, sometimes people call you and say, hey, I think I'm gonna wanna sell in 6 months or at the beginning of next year. And I say, that's great, you know, let's go ahead and do our visual coordinator, let's do everything now. You be working on your honey-do list, especially if they're thinking beginning of the year. Because I feel like when the market turns, it turns on a dime. And if you're ready and you can throw your sign up, we can sell not so great houses really fast right when the market turns. When other people figure it out and everybody else jumps in, then your competition gets harder. But if you can be on that first edge, I've noticed this the last 3 years, if you can be right in the beginning and ready to roll, you're gonna get maybe a sale you don't even deserve because there's no competition. That's been my experience.
With what you're talking about, normally we see a pop somewhere around that January 15th, you know, thing. I personally am expecting the hit to be later.
You are?
What do you think?
I don't know, what do y'all think? I wish I had a crystal ball, because we only know in the rearview mirror.
Yeah.
Okay, it was last week. You know, I don't know. How many of you have buyers right now that you can't find a house for? That
Because
are
of the
actively
inventory
looking?
or because they're a bit picky?
Well, inventory.
It's two different reasons.
I don't feel like buyers are quite as panicky as they were in markets past where they were willing to buy
Settle.
a house, just to buy a house. I think now they're all waiting to see what else will come on. And I mean, they hear that the market's shifting as well, so they just, the catch-22 to that is that if rates keep going up, they're not gonna be able to afford what they think they can afford, so, they need to pay attention to the rates, cause, I mean, their buying
Affordability is a
power is gonna
conversation.
Can I ask a question to two of you, who are, buyers that are waiting, or, potentially waiting right now? Why are you waiting, just to understand it from your perspective?
One of them, let's see, I think it was yesterday, he said, I just think the market's gonna go down.
Your perspective.
Or I thought
Yeah,
you
but you
said
said you were waiting.
as
Like,
a
for
buyer.
your personal home.
You said you were
Yeah,
waiting.
for your personal,
I just
personal
can't find what I'm
home.
looking for.
I'm waiting too, I've been looking.
I
Yes,
just can't
that's,
find what I
I
want.
guess that's the one thing I'd always come back to, is there tends to be a disconnect between what we think our clients think and then we put
What we
ourselves
think
through it, and it's like,
Mhm.
oh, that does totally make sense. And you know, in the context of buyers being picky, and the only thing that I'll add in, just to try and understand it from a buyer's perspective, a lot of these prices are $40,000, $50,000, $100,000 more expensive than they were 12 months ago. So they may not be that much more picky, but they may just want value for the additional investment that they have to make. So, and that could be, you know, it's all supply and demand, right? It's how many people need something right now or want something in the next 6 months, and how many good options there are. And people tend to get more picky, and this is just what I've noticed over time, but people get more picky when the inventory is stagnant and the prices have gone up. As new listings come on that are the new competitors that may cut them, because same thing you just talked about, reintroducing a house that would have been a higher price point last time, maybe it's in better shape now and it comes on $50,000 lower. People are only picky when they don't really like what's in front of them. The reality is they're gonna do what they wanna do. I've had so many people where they'll go through, I don't know how many houses, but every single house they'd say something pretty extreme, like, it's asking $400, well, I'd never pay $200 for this. And it just, people say that, and then they see the house that's right for them, and they'll offer $440 for it. So it just, a lot of it just kind of hang out and just keep working with them, and things take care of themselves. It's a moving market. It's an evolving market. I've always just mentally approached it like it's the ocean. It sounds ridiculous, but it's going to have its days where the weather's pretty. It's going to have its rougher days where you just need to kind of hang back a little bit. And it's never the same. I mean, people think of it as what's it going to do this year. What's it going to do in the next 2 weeks? What's it going to do in the next 4 weeks? There's just so many variables. You can know all the answers and rates double, right? And that's going to do something. Something crazy happens in the world. Hopefully not.
Exactly. I mean,
that's, you know.
You just can't
So,
plan for that.
if you wouldn't mind, what does the conversation look like, sort of scripted out, between you and your sellers even, in terms of buyers and interest rates, right? So how are you explaining a diminishing buyer power to your clients? If you're in a listing appointment and there's a little bit of a discrepancy on price, what are you saying to them? Totally put you on the spot,
Exactly
sorry.
that. Just basically exactly that. There's no, you know, or most of it, and again, sorry.
No, go.
Just my goal in any interaction with a client is just giving them all the relevant information to let them make their own decision. I don't want to make the decision for them. It's got to be their decision. That's what I look at my job as, is to make sure they have everything they need to make the decision that's best for them, and then for me to go try and execute it the best way possible outside of what I need from them. That's it. And
Oh, no, I didn't mean, I don't wanna interrupt what you're saying
so those conversations, it's just a real conversation. It's just, I'd have it the same way I'd have it with you, and just explain, here's what can happen, you know, what do you wanna do? And they don't always make the right decision, but they at least have the relevant information.
I was just gonna say, I mean, I'm same with Eton here, I'm just very, very upfront on what's going on and what we're seeing as far as, what our buyers, agents are telling us, and what we're seeing with them, and what buyers are expecting from a house. I still am a huge believer in staging, and there was a time when the market was, 08, 09, we did so much to get the house to win the beauty contest. You had to win the pricing war and the beauty contest, and that meant pre-inspection and being in the, and I feel like I'm kind of going back to that right now, with some of our sellers. It depends, if I can tell they've maintained it really well, I'm not, but, just because I think right now buyers are picky enough to where they will, if the house is not perfect and they feel like they've paid for the house, they will walk away. And so to kind of, get ahead of that, we're doing pre-inspections on, I'd say 50-50 of them now, but we used to back then. It was not negotiable. Like, that just was something you had to do. But we have those conversations up front with what the rates are doing, what we're seeing with the buyers, of the statistics. We can show and it depends on the area. There's a lot more price reductions that we're seeing. The days on market's a lot longer. So I just think it's being very, very honest with them and then letting them make the decision. And sometimes they haven't caught up to it, but at least you've given them all the information to make a decision.
I hope you're all using your stats that we get quarterly. That's our unique selling proposition to me, that we have those unique to the Rawls Group, and it's so much more specific and dialed down than the FMLS stats. So that is, that's a weapon in your arsenal when you go in. I don't know about y'all, my sister-in-law calls it real estate porn, but everybody watches real estate shows all the time. And at the end of every show, the house is perfect. Buyers are unrealistic. They want strip wallpaper. They don't want to paint a room.
They don't have time to do anything.
It's
they
like,
want to move
seriously?
in with their clothes.
And to their detriment, because they could get some better buys on things that with just a little bit of money and time, they've made a great improvement, and that buyer's gonna have to take less if they're not perfect, because everybody's a brat and wants perfect, so they can get a good buy, make the changes, and step into some equity. But it's very rare to me that I see a buyer that'll do that.
Well, listen, I feel like those are the ones that are flying off the market right now. The people who do the staging and make their house look like a model home, paint the colors that people want, paint their cabinets if they have to, change. I mean, paint and light fixtures will go a very, very long way. And I think a lot of sellers think that, oh, I've got to spend $10,000 and I can't do that. Well, they really don't. I mean, if they just were to throw some paint and change out some light fixtures, their appearance online is that, and they will. They'll get a higher price for it if they're willing to do it.
I'm like you with the, honesty is the best policy. However, honesty does not always win you the listing.
It does not.
So do you guys have scripts for when you're presenting the reality?
Someone out of selling on Saturday.
Because we all know another, if they're interviewing more than one agent, that other agent, especially if they're second and they go, well, Dawn said I should list for this, then most of the time that agent throws a different number to win.
There's always in my experience, there will always be someone that will tell them what they want to hear. And I usually try to end, it just happens to us with one, and to be very honest, I'm sure the lady was overwhelmed with the amount that we told her that she needed to do to her house, because she was on a busy road. She was synthetic stucco. There was no wow factor at all to the house, and so she had to do something, and she wanted to top of the market, and she decided to go a different avenue, as she said, which a different agent who told her she didn't have to do anything, and we were just again very honest, just saying, if at the time they ask you for a price reduction, just feel free to, the door's always open pretty much, and just leave it that way so that they, when they figure it out that you told them the truth, that if they want to come back, that the door's open and you haven't burned any bridges.
I'll tell you another mistake I've made, and y'all be careful of this, because I love the stats, I love the analytics, I love to go in, I'm a logical thinker. Don't forget to make them believe you love their house. Don't forget to be excited about their house. And make the market the bad guy. Not you, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I love your house. I think it's worth $1 million. Unfortunately, the market we're in right now, and these stats tell me what the market will pay for your house right now is $900, But, your house is fabulous, I love blah, blah, blah. So don't forget to make them believe you love their house, because I've shot myself in the foot with that before.
Your stagers are good, because you're not the bad guy.
Oh, the stagers are. But I get so caught up in the analytics and being logical and blah, 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 I forget to go, your house is fabulous, look at those cabinets. They've gotta feel like you like their house. They like it. You gotta like it.
You're on their side.
Yeah, right. Eton does that, I can tell. He jumps up and around, goes cartwheels.
What I was going to say to Bree, and you guys tell me if you disagree, I'm totally okay with that. I think the cost, and I learned this the hard way this year, the cost of taking an overpriced listing is so much greater that I'd rather tell them up front, if you don't want to make any changes, this is the price. If you only want to do these changes, this is the price. And if you're willing to go all the way and you really wanna see the biggest number there, this is what you need to do. And 9 times out of 10, that does include staging, cause a lot of people don't see the value in it. Especially if they're really practical, if they're a high C and SC personality, they're not really gonna get the point of staging. However, if you can show them the difference in price points, they're gonna go, well, why wouldn't I spend $2,700 to get an additional $15,000 on a price point? They don't always get it, so I'd rather lose it, let them go on the market for 90 days, expire out, and then they call and they go, well, and you go, yeah, remember when we sat down and I told you this is the price that the market was willing to bear? Well, now the market has shown you that that's the price they're willing to bear, except we factor in higher interest rates and we factor in diminished buying power.
Right.
So now the house is actually worth less, right? Is that something, would you agree with that, or do you have a different approach?
No, I totally agree with that. I mean, I think that, I think that's the biggest struggle right now, is that sellers don't want to do anything. And so if you can show them, this is what your house is worth without doing anything, this is what your house is worth with paint and light fixtures, or if you wanna change out countertops and all of that, this is what you can get. But it is way too expensive for us, I can speak only for our team, for us to take a listing that is overpriced, that we know, and I lose sleep over it,
And
to be
unrealistic.
very
It
honest.
makes your stomach hurt, and you have to make that call every week.
Yeah,
It's just
I
not
just
worth it.
know that I've done them a disservice, and they've sat on the market for God knows how long, and they may have missed the best part of the market. I mean, if the market's shifting, then, right now is all we really know. I can't tell them that in June they'll get so much more money.
And we all know the script, Amanda, I'd rather turn you down now than let
Right.
you down later. You know, I'm not in the business of, giving you realistic expectations.
Will you say that again, the script?
Yeah, I'd rather turn you down now than let you down later. I'm not in the business of not getting your goals met. And if I take your house at that price, based on what these stats show us and what we know of the market today, it's a high probability we're not gonna succeed.
So you turn down listings?
Oh, yeah, I would turn down listings.
And that line that she just said, it works, and
It
they
does.
look at you like, oh my God, you
Yeah.
don't wanna work with me?
I mean,
And
we
they want
hired
you even
people
more,
before.
so write it down.
I've got one, literally, I'm having a conversation tomorrow and I'm gonna use that, so thank you.
We fired a couple people this year, and some of it, I will say, just being flat out honest, the market was so good that we thought the house could sell itself type thing. Everyone was buying things, and this particular house didn't, and they were just stubborn, and they weren't going to do anything, and I just don't want our sign sitting up. That's not good advertising to sit out there for 9 months.
When your sign grows a beard, it's not good.
Sometimes you just have to let them go.
So,
She said
I
when
have a
your sign
question.
grows a
Like,
beard, it's not good.
As far as new listings go, from, let's say today moving forward, what do you guys use as your pricing strategy for those listings today?
A pricing strategy? I'm still using, comps from 30, it depends on the area, but I'm still using the most recent comps.
Okay, well, let me rephrase it. What I'm asking is because we don't know what tomorrow holds, and I'm sure I get a lot of same questions you guys get as far as, what is the market about to be? Now is a good time to list, kind of a question. Like,
I think
now's the best time to list.
Now is always a good time to
Right.
list. You just have to come up with why in that particular moment.
I think now's the best time to list, because come March or whenever everyone else decides to list, then your competition is just that much more.
Now is a good time to list, because when I speak to my, colleagues in the business, we all have buyers right now that we don't have a good house for. So
And the rates are
absolutely,
going up.
get out there now while there's less competition.
And I think you have to tell them too when I know we tell them at the listing appointment, we watch the market every week. They're getting one of those hot sheets so that they can see, and quite honestly, they'll self-discover themselves when they start seeing, oh, these 3 houses reduced price and this one went under contract. And we will have sellers call us and say, we need to reduce the price, I think. Before you even have to have the conversation, but a lot of it, it's just letting them know that you stay on top of the market and you watch it, and as new houses come on, it changes your position.
I've had a few buyers mention that, and sellers, that they had plans to move and are delaying them due to what they're seeing going on in the stock market. So, what would you say to that? You know, some of their down payments that they had are you know, dwindled, I guess.
They don't have the money for the down payment, you mean?
Well, they're just, you know, they see that their, whatever investments it is that they have, you know, are significantly down, and so they're like.
So maybe they're afraid of getting in a position that's gonna be a strain.
I mean, it depends, if they went through March 2009 and 8, they probably have very good reasons.
I guess the only
not to
the
do
thing I
that.
come up with there is just, I mean, you just don't know. I don't think it's a question that we're qualified to answer, because, I mean, even if you did have all of their personal information,
Right.
it still doesn't mean that you know the right answer for them.
Yeah.
You
Sure,
don't.
sure.
So.
And if they're not
And
comfortable
sometimes
with it.
it's not the right time.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, buying and
Yeah.
selling real estate is not.
If we knew what was gonna happen with the
answer for
market,
everybody.
we wouldn't have to sell real estate.
We'd be retired, girl. We'd already be done.
I think it's a greater question about a sense of economic instability, or like as we move into a place, because I always find when we get into like midterms or presidential election, there's a sense of uneasiness. So I would think maybe that question is more about a feeling of economic instability as opposed to specifically this type of investment. I don't know.
Right.
What do you think?
No, I think that has a lot to do with it. It
Uh-huh.
is, I mean, it's all confidence in the market, I think.
Yeah, and you know, and we're consultants, we're not salespeople. I mean, we're not salespeople. We can't walk into a house and close them 5 different ways and make them buy it if they don't like it. They're not gonna buy it,
Right.
you know? So to me, we're problem solvers. That's what we are. And for that particular person, it may not be the right time for them, you know, and be the consultant who is willing to have that conversation and not try to get a commission check and.
Sure, sure.
You know,
I went on
you'll
a
be
listing
their
appointment
consultant for life.
on Saturday, and I literally talked them out of selling their house.
Yeah.
You know, they went in, and I was like, first one of the year, I was like, oh, not off to a great start, but it just doesn't, I mean, I think by the end they agreed, it just wasn't, it was just not the right choice for that. They would have, there's no way that if they had sold their house and come back here in 2 years, they would have been able to rebuy their house for the price, that they got it for. So it just, I mean, and I think they respect that. I think that leads to referrals. I mean,
But
down
that's
the road,
key
if you're
thing
just,
there. I mean, you go help
absolutely.
somebody not do anything, and they refer 3 people to you.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, who cares? It's
You
Right.
don't
kind
have
of the goal.
commission
Or
breaks.
buy an investment or whatever, or something else.
But that may be a good answer for that person, you know, the stock market's awful, you know, crazy right now, it's making my stomach hurt, but, you know, investment properties.
Right.
And when times are bad, there's more people who are renting.
It's a great time to be a landlord.
So, awesome.
Right.
Rent
The
it up.
main thing with any of that is just always ask people, what are you trying to do? Like, you know, what do you wanna do? What questions would help figure out what you want to do or what makes sense to do? Versus going
And
down
they're
the road.
always leading with that fear of losing out on something. You're never gonna be able to change your mind.
Sure.
They're always gonna be in there, so.
One question that's always helped me a lot too, when someone will ask me a question, even like, will you reduce your commission, which I never hear, thank heaven, that's what a referral business will do for you, knock on wood. But when they ask a question, I'll say, tell me why that's important to you. Because sometimes the question would make you think one thing, but when you find out why that question is important to them, then you get to what they're really in fear of or what they.
The context is different than you thought.
Yeah, and it gives you a minute to think.
Yeah.
If you're not quite ready.
What are you seeing in regards to? I talked to a girl on the phone today. I guess she had for sale by owner in her house, then hired an agent. The agent couldn't get it sold, so now she's probably going to go back to for sale by owner. Or she told me she was certainly not going to pay 6%. She had already talked to somebody who was willing to take 4.5%, and somebody else was willing to take 5%. So I feel like we might be hearing more of this kind of thing, especially with Open Door and all this other stuff going on.
Well,
So
the
it
full
sounds
trick,
like
she
she
wants
was
to
really easy.
maximize her dollar then, is that what I hear you saying?
Right, yes,
Okay.
yep.
Grip your chair.
Because there's always gonna be someone out there who will do it for cheaper.
Yep.
But will they do
And
everything
they, I mean,
Exactly.
again, last year we had that happen to us too, and that was in August, and they wanted us to only pay the other agent 2.5%, the buying agent, which we absolutely refused. If we are gonna take a hit, it is us, we will not jip the buyer's agent, and we're strong believers in that. And so whoever listed it has only offering 2.5% selling commission, and they are still sitting there, well, what is it, 5 months later? So, I mean, I think you kinda get, there's always someone that will do it for cheaper. You just gotta stick to your values.
I hung up on him.
I'm
just kidding.
There's that approach.
I did delete her from the database. Let's just say
Send me your number so I don't call her.
I love Rick Hale's quote, and I don't know if it's original to him, but price is only a factor in the absence of value.
Will you say that again?
Price is only a factor in the absence of value. So, you know, if that agent's gonna negotiate right off the bat in the first phone conversation their commission, how hard are they gonna negotiate?
Right, for you, for the
Yeah, with a buyer's agent selling your house. You know, I'm gonna fight for $500 for you because I think it's a lot of money.
Right,
You
sure.
know, we buy a chair with that. You know, I'm not gonna throw your money away.
Very nice pair of shoes.
She says with the cute shoes, and me, you can tell I bought his furniture.
So what do you think about the discount brokers, the new open doors and all? What do you think about those?
You know, I had my moment of fear with them, I think, over the summer into the fall, like, oh my goodness, they're just gonna rock our worlds. Really not that, I mean, if you really, I'm sure most of you are on the Rawls group Facebook page and saw, I don't know if you saw Kelly Allen's post that she's doing, so watch out for that, cause she's gonna post whatever marketing piece they come up with. But she's coming across, I guess, some sellers that are gonna work with Open Door or Knock or whatever it is. And, just kind of, so she's putting together some different stories on why her value, I guess, over that. Their fees are higher than a 6%
Yes, they
commission
are.
fee. If they're gonna buy your house, they could, I mean, they're leaving money on the table. To me, I think that those people are in desperate needs, and need to get out of something super fast. And maybe that's the answer for them, but I just don't.
Or maybe they live in such a way that their house would never be in showing condition, and they're not gonna get it there.
Yep.
They don't get, I mean, we had a buyer, our,
from there, and they just, the sellers need cash and they need it.
they need it right then.
That's what I've got.
And they're willing to take less, cause it's
They've
usually
got
a
to.
lower
It's a desperate-
price.
Yeah, and these are not non-for-profit companies.
And they don't have time.
Right.
I mean, use your
Their
brain.
volume.
They have got to make money somewhere.
You got their listings set for ever. They're supposed to be set forever.
Because they're not doing anything to the house after it's
Well,
purchased.
Aaron, on
They're
the,
barely cutting grass.
my buyer's agent, sold one, and the, seller was calling us because he couldn't get in touch with anyone there, cause you don't have one person that you
Right.
could call, and he could get no answers, so we had to help him get to the closing table. So there's no hand holding, there's
They
none of
don't
that.
work weekends.
I guess
No.
question
Or
I
nights.
have
They
for
don't work
that,
nights
like,
either.
those businesses, they can work. I mean, they obviously, some people will work with them, they have a market that wants to work with them. It will work in an up market, correct? What happens if the market goes down?
They're desperate.
That's well.
What happens to those businesses if the market goes down? And I'm not saying I know the answer, but I've seen it before, and
Right.
those companies aren't around anymore that
Correct.
did this in that
08,
06,
yeah.
07, 08.
So you think they're just trying to make as much money as they can before that happens?
Well, not saying that necessarily, but it's more from if you're looking at who your competition really is and who they might be down the road. You're an individual or a group of individuals. You're not a large company that has a pretty wild overhead. you know, you can afford to do that in an up market. If a market goes down, you cannot afford to do that. Somebody's gonna starve, you know, who
When
is it
you
gonna
could
be?
stick a sign in the yard and it would sell in a day, those companies do great. But when the market starts to shift,
Yeah, if they're buying your property, but then the
It's just not
value's
work.
going down, and not saying it would be anything like
Right.
what happened before, because that was an exaggerated extreme that I think was
Hopefully
very-
never again.
Ever again.
Yeah, I mean, it
Not in our
created,
life.
yeah, it was a, you know, it was a different time, but that kinda corrected everything, that it just, there's basically, I think there's two kinds of businesses that you can run. There's one that runs in an up market, or there's probably three. One that runs in an up market, one that runs in a down market, or one that runs in both markets. I think the only thing you can do is create one that runs in both markets to insulate yourself from that and not really have to worry about it.
I don't think, I mean, I got into real estate right in 2007, so I learned what a short sale was really, really quickly.
Yeah.
And I kind of, I'm on the fence. I kind of understand how Dee feels, and I understand how you feel. Like, it doesn't feel the same as it did in 2007, 2008 when it crashed, because it was literally an overnight kind of feeling. It just feels differently. It feels more of a market correction
Just a
than it
crash.
does an actual shift.
And real estate does this.
Ebbs and flows.
Look historically.
Yes.
Hopefully on an upward trajectory, but
Right.
it zigzags across that line.
I
that lived through that 2008, I think for those of us that lived through that 2000, I mean,
Yeah.
this does not feel anything like that. Like
No.
you said, that was an overnight just, I mean,
I think at
companies
this
out
point,
of business, it was
yeah,
not.
our buyers are picky, but I think what the buyers are fed up. Like, they're basically looking at a situation of, literally, my friend bought a house last year and they paid $300,000 for it, and the same exact house in the same exact neighborhood is, like you said, $50,000 more, and buyers are literally pushing away from the table and says, okay, if I'm gonna do this, then I need all of this.
I think
So
that's
I
a
don't
perfect
think.
way to say
I
it. It's
agree.
exactly that. It's just people are kind of fed up with it. Something that's like, really have to pay that much more just to get in this neighborhood that
Right.
I bought on this 12 months ago. Like, and then people pull back, and then somebody goes in the market and they're like, what do you mean I don't have multiple offers in 3 days? It's like,
Right.
well, your house is $100,000 more expensive than it was.
Than everything else.
If you do it 50,000 more, it will probably still work.
Right.
You're still fine.
I totally agree.
Yeah,
That's
that's
kind of why
perfectly said.
I was asking about the listing strategy. I'm sorry, the list price strategy, simply because at this point, I work with a lot of investors who are doing flips as well. I'm doing one of my own, and it's more so of a situation of having that conversation of, just because when we started your project, this was the number, this may not still be that number, and even when it is that kind of situation, like I said, because buyers are so much more, I'm gonna use the word picky for lack of a better word, you really have to think of everything that a buyer is going to come into it. And I think us as agents, we kind of have been on that other side of it, and we know what buyers are looking for. We know buyers want to see vapor barriers, the small little things. We know they want to see termite letters, because now FHA requires them. So these are things that sellers are not thinking about, and they don't want to spend money on, because it doesn't make sense to them, because they're not on this side. So that's kind of a way to kind of talk to them and say, hey, look, I understand what you want, but the only way to get you to where you want to be is if we do these things in the very beginning. And I commend you for talking about staging back when staging was not, I remember talking to you about staging years ago, probably 10 years ago. And now I have people that are staging houses that were under 100,000 or right at 250 that would have never been heard of before. So it is definitely a situation where you definitely want to make sure it is first date ready before it ever hits the market. I forgot where I got that name from, first date ready, but yeah, first date ready. Has to smell good, look good, and you have to want to see it again.
And I know y'all do this in your pricing, but of course we have to look at the recent solds. That's the most important. But look at all your competitive inventory. Will I be, if I were driving to buy around today, would this listing be in the top 3? At what price would this house be in the top 3? And it's when you're the shiniest penny in the purse that you get your contract. You know, so that's a lot of it.
So the only other thing I'd say on that too is go see your competitors.
Oh,
Like,
yes.
you have to go see your competitors. Otherwise, I mean, you'll know a lot more than you realize you know once you've just seen them. If you don't see them, then you're kind of working for the same information that the seller has.
I mean, we used to never go on listing appointments without previewing like everything around there. and then the market got really good. Put a sign in the yard and it's
Sold.
and you didn't have
Pansy
to
could
see
sell real
anything.
estate.
And I just feel like we're kind of going back to what.
Gotta go to work.
Yeah.
It's actually really funny you said that. I spoke to, so I partner with Emily Freeman, and I had the conversation with her today because I was at a caravan earlier before I came in, and I said I've got to get my mindset around the fact that I need to go back to what I learned in Ignite.
Mhm.
Those things that
I
you're
thought the
supposed to
same
do
thing.
every
Mhm.
single day, right? Your
Yeah.
handwritten
Yep.
cards,
Yeah.
you're previewing homes. I mean, it's not just lead gen and get an appointment and get a sign up anymore. It's almost like we have to take it back to basics.
It is.
And agreed.
I
I
mean, we
think
have to
it's-
go. And I was telling Alexis this the other day, and Alexis hasn't been with us during a bad market. She's only been with us when the market's great. And I'm like, she doesn't even know some of the stuff we used to do. And I have to rack my brain and go back. I'm like, what did we do? What was our listing checklist back then of everything that we did?
But I think that's what that's not going to be. I think, in my opinion, why companies like an Open Door or Knock or whatever they are, that's why you don't have that same personal experience. And some people need to be touched every now and again. Pause. That's not what I meant. I meant like people need to know that you're there. And with a company like that, it's hard to give them that feeling.
Yeah.
Because when it does or has, Lord, don't let it get too bad. But when it gets back to a situation where you literally have to roll up your sleeves and get back to basics, I mean, are those companies going to be able to do that?
Or they're gonna have a teammate working with them, their consultant who's really trying to help them weekly analyze, figure out, reposition.
Cause I doubt they do.
I doubt they do. It's gonna be interesting to see if the NAR stats change on how people make their selection of their listing agent and their buyer's agent now that there seems to be a little influx of these different type competitors. But it has stayed pretty true, which has been great for the way Eton and I work, that just working with someone who comes recommended, that they trust, that they know, that's still been the top of the list. So I didn't have any fear that it was gonna go totally to, well, they're just gonna find their agent on the internet.
So how did you get to that point from having to do everything they teach you in Ignite, like making the calls and writing the notes and doing the lead gen? How do you get from that to where you are?
Just start there and stay
Well,
consistent.
and I started that way too. This is so ancient history, but there was a coach named Joe Stump, by referral only. That was his thing, and it was a very focused system of the way you touched your clients regularly, kind of like the 33 touch. And what's funny is Brian Buffini, if y'all have heard his name, was actually a student of Joe's before he went out and did his thing, which is basically a copy of Joe's work. But anyway, it was just being purposeful about it from the very beginning and letting people know if I earned the right, I would appreciate their referrals. And I'm just working really hard to earn the right, because I don't want to deal with strangers who don't know me and they're taking a few weeks to figure out if they even trust me. I want them to come in the door trusting me, believing in me. It's such a better experience.
Not everyone's the same, but really I just kind of look at it the same way. If you need somebody in an industry, and people do go to the internet, but a lot of times if you need somebody and you know somebody that just did what you're looking to do, you probably ask them, right?
I always ask my
that
friends.
ratio has typically been somewhere around 80% of business is generated that way. So, when I started in the business and was looking at what everybody is doing, I was like, why is everybody doing this? That it does work, whether it's calling expireds and harassing people on the phone. When you can just do this, and like 4 out of 5 people are gonna end up picking the agent through this style anyway. So it's just a business decision at that point, and doesn't make it right for everybody. But everything can work
and does work.
It's just a question of what's going to work the most consistently over time, and I haven't seen a system that beats that ever.
But do what Ignite tells you.
let me, go ahead. One more question. I was gonna say, let me ask y'all, and I know that some people are really into the KW Labs right now. Not everyone is as sort of involved in it. there is a growing conversation, right, about technology in our field, right? And not even looking at these other companies like the Open Doors just as agents and as brokerages as we grow and evolve. What's the role, whether or not you've implemented or not, or what's your plan for moving forward with technology this year?
I am super pumped about Command, and I do not get pumped about technology because I'm not techie, but just with the labs and having access to it now and what it can do, I mean, it is going to change our life, I think. And I cannot wait for family reunion because I'm positive they will have lots and lots of classes on it, but it is, so when they roll all that out, like getting that up and running is big for us this year. You mean other technology as far as like Facebook and
even
like that?
Specifically KW, is everyone aware of what Gary Keller's been doing with technology?
No.
Oh.
No, I don't use
We
it.
hear it's
No,
we know nothing other than that. It's a
Do you
lot.
want to talk about your,
like a really quick,
do you want to talk
because
about,
I don't know.
yeah,
mean-
maybe not even Kelly, just your experience with like what is Command?
I know a whole lot about Kelly. I
Yeah.
mean, I've got Kelly, but
Right.
other than that, giving her my GCI and the line numbers, I don't really know how to use
I don't even know how to use
Kelly, to be honest, so I can't speak for Kelly, but.
I think we might need a class.
I
on
asked
Kelly.
it something and it says, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, forget it.
Yeah, forget
Never
it.
mind.
Yeah.
She's a toddler.
She-
She
yeah,
learns.
she's learned. Yeah, I
She
just do
learns
it
from
for
that
fun.
question, so that's really good.
Um,
Like, what is Command and what are you doing with it now? Let me just
Nothing
ask you
now. Nothing at all now, except for playing around and,
Right.
and just trying to figure out what all it offers. But what it will do, from my understanding, and so do not quote me on this because this is just me playing around in it. It will do everything. It's a one-stop shop. Like right now, and Alexis can probably speak for this a lot better than I can because she'll be the one using it and she's playing in it a lot more. But right now, if she has to put in a listing and then go to Zillow and upload it there, or change pictures and put in comments, and then do Facebook ads. She has to go out. I mean, it could take her a half a day to put in a whole listing, just as far as everything that everywhere she has to go. This is all one central hub, and it's like a click of one button, and it just goes out I mean, it's going to cut. It's amazing. It does lead generation. It runs ads for you. That's all I know, which isn't a lot, but I think it's going to be huge.
And when is that supposed to start?
So it should be rolling out within the first quarter. The thing that I will say is that, like Kelly being a toddler, the first 6 months of the new tech, you kind of want to understand that the more that you use it and the more agents are involved in using it, the quicker it will become what it needs to be. Because in the beginning, it is going to be that initial interface. And just to add on, and then we'll take some final questions. Basically, Gary Keller, what he's doing is, how we use all of these third-party systems, right? So your CRM might be with like a Wise Agent, and then we use .loop, and then, we've got all these different systems, right? Chances are you're also paying something 99 every single month on a renewal form, right? What he's doing is he's saying that he who has the most information has the power. And we're giving away our power by giving away all of our information to these third-party vendors. So he's created a platform, a command system that houses all of this information. So you can go from, the appointment to the postcards, the mailers, and it can all be done in the command system. I mean, absolutely everything is done in command. And what they've done, and what the tech team has done, is they've looked at things like Slack, Instagram, Facebook, some of these most popular platforms, and they've copied and mimicked the look of them. So it is so user-friendly. So if you're not tech savvy, don't worry about it because it really is user-friendly. If you use Canva to design your flyers or your postcards, there is an equivalent in the system. So I think that we're looking, my understanding is probably the end of the first quarter.
Yeah, I think so.
I think sort of.
We're not gonna
Yeah.
get rid of Wise Agent.
Yes.
We're letting it kind of work out its kinks. But does anyone use Trello?
Love Trello.
So it's
Oh my
they're
gosh.
basing it off
Love
of
Trello.
Trello. We use Trello too, and they are basing a lot of it off of Trello. Because I think it's the lock-in group that
Oh
they.
my gosh.
the-
I wrote my
basic-
life off of it.
Alexis lives her life off of it too, and
It's-
we're trying to live our life off of it.
I would love to compare Trello boards.
Yeah. I don't really
What is it
understand
called?
them yet,
Trello,
but
So you
I
guys,
try.
I was gonna say, go into your KW, and you can actually go into KW Connect and look up labs, and you can apply to be part of labs and get access to the command system now, so that again, by the time it rolls out, you're already familiar with how to use it, or if you've got an admin on your team, they already know how to use it. By the same token, Keller Mortgage is amazing, and you can actually get clients qualified with Keller Mortgage right now. I don't know if you've done this yet. It is super easy. You can actually go in and you'll apply to get in. They'll run you through a few videos, and it is so easy. You literally just get a link. So if any of your clients go towards like a Rocket Mortgage, or they want a quick approval, it's the same thing with Keller Mortgage, and as long as the home, I think, is at least $150,000 or more, you get a guaranteed $1,500 in closing costs. So not only are you going to get a competitive rate, and I don't work for Keller Mortgage, I'm just a really big fan of it. However, you're already showing your unique proposition to buyers before anything, like before anyone else has stepped in the door.
When are we getting access to that? 'Cause I understand there was the top first.
You can access
25
now.
People, how?
So literally, if you go into your KW account, go to KW Connect, I think, and do Keller Mortgage. I know some people can access it through the Kelly app under their settings. If you want to touch base with me afterwards, I'll confirm with Aaron and we'll make sure, and we can always put that in Peachtree Road. I mean, would that be a benefit for y'all to be able to access the mortgage group immediately?
Yeah.
Okay, so we can get that set up. Do you guys have any final questions for our amazing panel?
But if you're going to family reunion, I'm sure they'll have the labs there again where you can sign up and to be part of the different labs, and I would do that because it's kind of fun to, and that's coming from a non-techie person, that it's fun. So, anyway, that's all.
Any other questions? Patty, did you have one?
Thank you.
All right, well, I think let's give our panel a round of applause. Thank you so much. Did everyone get a chance to sign in? If you didn't, please do. And we hope this was great. We'll have more coming to you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You guys.
Lisa, I like your pants. They're very cute.
Where do these live?
Two are in here. Thank you so much. Girl. Yeah. Bob. It